Hey guys, a lot of times when y'all see the tomatoes that I've got growing here in the greenhouse, they're on strings like this one right here. This is actually one big beef plant that I've pruned to 3 stems, and you can see how it's just suspended from the purlin up here, growing straight up, nice and neat, easy to maintain that. This Anaheim pepper right here is coming on. Not so easy to maintain because it's got more stems on it, but I look for it to come on up here about this tall too before too much longer. But this right here, this is a pretty cool sight to be able to just see the tomatoes hanging up like this. Just go by, you can see all the clusters nice and clean. Y'all remember the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, where he played the part of the bouncer? Remember what he told all of his guys? He said anytime there's a fight, disruption or whatever, remember what he told them? He said, take it outside. So that's what I decided to do. I wanted to be able to take the strings and this type of growing method, take it outside, see how it would work out. So this is what I decided to do. I would take this top rail fencing for the chain link fence that I used in the greenhouse to make my side curtains with, and also the purlins, and I would build a frame kind of like a clothesline. But the thing with a trellis, it kind of needed to be temporary so that you could take it down at the end of the year. So what I had done was put a piece of pipe on both sides at the ground. I was going to drive them in flush with the ground. That way I could pull this out at the end of the year, and I could still go across it with a tiller. If I wanted to go back and run the tractor across that row again where the tomatoes are, I could still do that. That would be an option. Whereas if I put something up permanent in concrete, I wouldn't be able to do that. What I found though, when I set it up like this, trying to make a temporary setup, it was going to be really temporary. Meaning just as soon as those tomatoes got loaded down on the strings and stuff, this was not going to hold up. It just wasn't going to be strong enough to do it. So I had to change plans a little bit and actually switch it to a way that it would be permanent, but still give me some option to get in there and till the rows and stuff. So I ended up going back to square one, the clothesline concept. This is what my clothesline is made out of. 4x4 treated lumber, got a 4x4 cross member at the top, eye bolts running through, securing it nice and stable there. This galvanized wire that I found at Lowe's, I got it, I think 170-foot roll for $19. This is what I'm using for my ends to secure it to the anchor that I have in the ground, and also for my top support wire up here. To anchor the ends, what I have done is put a mobile home anchor. It's 30 inches long, double helix, screwed that all the way into the ground. That's not going anywhere. And I'm using these turnbuckles right here to be able to tighten up, create the tension on it, pull everything nice and snug. Same thing up at the top. I've got a turnbuckle on the end of each line to be able to tighten it up. So what I did, I run my wire, extra wire from here, go across the top, and come back to the eye bolt on the other side. That way, if the turnbuckle should ever fail, I've still got a backup. To still try to keep it somewhat temporary so that I could get a tiller in here and retill this soil at the end of the season or whatever, I decided I would leave the top rail fencing as the supports right in the middle. They will handle that up and down support. They're not going to take a whole lot stressing back and forth though. That's why I had to go with the 4x4 post on the end. This heavy galvanized wire across the top will support a whole lot of weight. This right here, these posts, I've got my pipe in the ground, pretty much flush with the ground. At the end of the year, what I can do is I can just pull this up, get it out of the way, so I can run the tiller down here and till this stuff up, and then put everything back in place. Now, being as how I've got tomatoes here this year, I've got my ends concreted in. You know, I want to put something here next year, put the same system back up. So next year, Lord willing, I'll put some pole beans on one side maybe, and run cucumbers down the other. That way this would actually become more of a permanent type trellis. It would always be here, would be in use every year to grow something. Much like in the greenhouse, here's my orange baling twine. tied up here. I've got enough slack, so should this thing come on up, which with the blight and stuff that's going on right now, I don't know if they're going to make it, but if they do and it all goes well, they get up here, I can loosen this string and let these plants down a little bit and keep it going. Right here I decided I would test out these little rollers that actually hold the twine, and they've got a release on them where you can just turn it and it'll bring out about a foot or so of twine. Do it again, you can bring out some more, and you can just keep on dropping that plant down as it's growing. That'll be a lot faster than using the string and doing it like that. Be a lot safer too. I won't have to worry about actually dropping that plant. You can see how these things work. This is the wire that actually stops it. This roller has a notch on the side to keep it from going any further. When you squeeze this top wire in, what it does is opens it up and allows it to release, and that thing will come back around till it catches the next time. Pretty neat stuff. Right there's a bunch of BHN 624s, them hybrid cherry grape tomato. So I needed a simple way to let them grow up and be able to secure them. And I didn't think a cage would do it either. So what I did was just run that orange wire horizontal and then come back every couple of feet where the plants were and just run a vertical string through that. Make kind of a webbing back behind it. That's worked out pretty good. And as these things are growing up, y'all remember these little tomato clips, trellis clips? What I do is just come in here, put me a little clip around there, and there she goes, nice and secure. And I can follow these things all the way up, you know, till they get 6 foot tall. And then once they get to the top, I can go ahead and let them start coming back down. That works out real well. So with that trellis right there in place, that took care of 2 rows of tomatoes. That left me 4 more rows to deal with. These 2 rows right here, as you can see, they had done fell down. My original plan for these last 4 rows right here, since the determinate Rutgers, was to go ahead and put cages around everything. But all my cages were used up, and I had just bought a whole roll to use in the greenhouse to get those up in cages. And at $110, $15 a roll, it would have taken 3 more rolls of wire to get enough cages to finish this. 300 and some bucks. And considering the fact that I'm giving most of this stuff away, I couldn't justify the expense right now. So I decided to do 2 things. I would let these 2 rows do what comes natural to a tomato plant. Just let it sprawl. I had put enough straw up under there, so they should be okay. As those tomatoes get heavy, and as they have done, they just fall down, and the fruit's going to be resting on top of that straw. Shouldn't have too much issues with it rotting. As long as they're not in direct contact with the soil, I think we'll be okay. And that left me these 2 rows right here. I went by Tractor Supply, picked up a few T-posts, and using the oak tomato stakes that I had made last year, I decided to do some of that Florida weave. I tried it last year. I used the wrong kind of twine. The stuff rotted, it fell all over the place. I had a mess on my hands. It's one of them deals where you just keep living and learning. Now there's a reason that I didn't do any recording when I was putting this string up. I looked kind of like a grasshopper in a spider web. I had string all over the place, trying to weave between these plants and stuff like that, doing it by hand, not being real good at it. I got it done, but it was an ugly sight. If you want to see it done nice and neat, there's a fella down in Texas, Tim Turner. I saw his video about a month or so ago where he did the Florida weave on his plants, and he had a piece of PVC pipe, a nice little trick, and he just moseyed on through there, nice and neat, made it look so simple. I'll put a link down below, so if you got tomatoes and don't know what to do with them and you've never seen nobody do the Florida weave before, he's got a neat little trick to make it grow nice and fast. And while I'm talking about Tim, if you were to go to the Wikipedia or check out Webster's Dictionary, wherever, and look up the term Texas gentleman, you would probably find a picture or a reference to Tim Turner. I have watched a ton of his videos, and every time he's just as calm, easygoing, relaxed when he's doing his gardening and stuff. Very enjoyable to watch. He is definitely a Texas gentleman. I just wish I could have got them up here to weave these tomato plants right here so I wouldn't have had to fight all this string. Maybe next year. All right, just a couple of quick points. It's recommended when you're putting the string around these plants, go in and out. That make sure your string is crossed. That way the plant won't be able to fall out of it, fall into the side, as opposed to just having two parallel lines. Go ahead and crisscross them as you're going in between the plants. And I've seen some references to putting your stakes about 10 foot apart, something like that. I decided to put them, closer, like 5 or 6 foot, something like that. I just felt like too far apart would be too much stress on that string and the stuff would end up on the ground. It's hard enough for me to keep these things tied up as it is, so the closer them stakes are, the more support I have. Well, that's how I'm dealing with my tomatoes this year. I got 2 rows right here with this long trellis system built overhead. I've got 2 rows right here, just letting them sprawl, do what comes natural. And then I got 2 more rows over there with the Florida weave that I'll have to keep a watch on as they keep coming up. Just make sure I come back with some more string. Try not to hang myself in the process. So whether you want to build a trellis and hang them by the strings and stuff like that, let them sprawl, do the weave, just put up stakes and tie it to it with string or pantyhose, put them in cages. Whatever you think works for you, I would go with it. In the end, whatever it takes to bring something to the table, that's what I would do. Find what works for you, stick with it, and keep at it. So y'all take care, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time.